I hate when people drag their feet, and I just dragged my feet. Hello, welcome to a new week and some new things to happen. You can see I've made 3 pumpkins now. Um, we got this one painted. I didn't do a very good job painting it. I didn't try to. I just sprayed it orange and then sprayed the top green. You can see here that there's obviously it's just a mess in there. But I mean, pumpkins pumpkins are weird, and so these are weird, and that's what I like. So this one here, I did the other day quickly, and you can see if you remember what my welds look like on that guy. That I've done this guy in a different fashion. Whereas, so I was thinking, why don't I just do the ones that go directly across from each other here? So we got this guy, right? And then we got these two. And then I put the other 4 in after the fact. And so you can see how that came in. So we did this one first, and then we did these 2 first. And then we just threw these 4 in. And I think it came out okay. It looks a little weird in there, but I like it. And I didn't weld the bottom because I extra welded all of them together after the fact. And they were all really close together, so that really worked. And then the same on the top. I did fairly the same if you can look in there. But that one's way worse. And then I made a shorter stem. I just cut it shorter and then welded it in there. I didn't clean any of these. Like I cleaned them, but not cleaned them. Like I didn't wire brush them after or anything like that. I just forge cleaned them. And it gives it that really worn, those are used horseshoes. That's the look that's come with. Now, then I made this one. I just made this one today. It's still a little warm, so I gotta be careful. I did this one similar to the one I did on the big one, but I used less shoes. These are brand new shoes. I bought these ones, so that's not something I would make for people unless they want to pay an expensive amount. Because for each 2 of these shoes, it was $10. And so I just wanted to see, because we didn't have any shoes this small over there. These are 000 or triple aughts is what they're called, but 000. These ones are zeros. And so the size difference is noticeable, but not crazy noticeable. It's not like the 8-aughts one that we made the ruler out of. I was gonna buy those and make one tiny little pumpkin, but again, those are it's expensive, and I wanted to see what I can do with these guys. There is one horse at Corner Shoes that uses these shoes, and so if we ever get enough to make something small enough, then we know that works. So these are zeros, and these are ones. I think, yeah, these are ones. So we can still get bigger because it goes up to size 4, and then even bigger than that. But for these types of shoes, they go up to size 4. These 2 are probably the most widely used shoes. We got a lot of 2s though. 3s are a little bit bigger, but Potter uses 3s and some other horses. So, but yeah, so those are our 3 pumpkins. I'm gonna head out to the craft store eventually and buy some cheap fall decorations and put them in and around the pumpkins, and those little fake candles and stuff, and just make a little decorative scene, and then post it on the shop's Facebook page. But so there's those are done. So I can't wait to get those posted. I don't know when I'm going to do it. Probably next week. But me and Courtney are going out tomorrow for a day of shopping. So just to get some things for the horses. And if we end up near a Michael's or something, we'll stop and grab some of this stuff. I'm not going to spend money on decorating my posts, but this one I thought would be pretty cool. Anyway, I was thinking about making some rustic fall signage as well to go around these. So we would use some old pallet wood and just carve the word fall or autumn or any of that kind of stuff into it, give it a nice quick stain, that kind of stuff. But I don't have the stencils for it. And so we might, I have a box of stencils down there, but they're all cursive. And I don't know the last time you saw a cursive autumn sign, but I've never seen one. We can do that. So yeah, those are done. So we'll move those off to the side, and we'll talk about what I kind of want to do this week. And these are, this thing just kind of popped into my head this week, and so we're going to work on that. And then I think this is going to be this project specifically is going to be a stepping stone into being able to make bigger sculptures and artwork, because that's kind of what I want to do. We have a lot of used horseshoes there, and the bigger sculptures that I use, the more shoes I use, and the less I have to worry about the way the shoes look, because it will be a grander thing with many horseshoes as opposed to just 1 or 2 or 8 horseshoes. So I have to clean them up really, really well. So what I have here is just a couple of sets of shoes. I'm going to see if this is cool to the touch yet. It is, okay. I was messing around while I was cleaning up the stem for the last pumpkin. I was messing around with this, and I'll show you what that is. Anyway, so what I thought was I could make, those little solar pathway lights that they sell, the cheap little plastic things. I thought if I could just get the tops of them, I could potentially make just a little solar light, just an accent light, nothing that lights up the surrounding area, nothing like that. But I could make one that kind of looks like a horse hoof out of horseshoes and rasps. And so my thought process here, I'll move these to the side. I have 4 different kinds of sets of shoes. So these are the shoes that we use for most of our projects. They're called eventers. I've talked about that before. And so I got a very large eventer. I think this is a 2. And then I got a smaller eventer, which is a 1. This is a 3. Sorry, this is a 3. This is a 1. And we're going to, and then I got, these are deltas. And so again, I got a larger delta and a smaller delta. And I didn't care what they look like. I don't care if they're flat or not. I have to heat them up anyway, so I can flatten them out a little bit if I need to. And then this one is a eventer but hind shoe. These are both hind shoes. And they have cork holes in them. That doesn't matter to me very much, but it's interesting that they have cork holes. And so these are a hind shoe, and then we also got the delta hind shoe as well. So basically we have a whole horse full of shoes. Well, it's 2 horses full of shoes, but you'll see what I'm saying. So what I want to do is I want to try to mimic the look of a horse hoof or horse foot. And the way I wanted to do that is if you look at a horse hoof, the farriers they trim it flat so it's on the ground, so it's flat on the ground, and the toe is rounded, and this comes to the heel. But we never cover the heel because the heel has got a fleshy part of the back that's covered in fur, and the smaller shoe will come up because the horse hoof tapers up, right, into like a conical shape, a cone shape, and only in the front. And in the back, it's a weirdly different shape. There's like an indent at the back of the heel. After we come to the heel of the shoe, the leg or the fleshy or the furry part starts like right behind the horse hoof. The whole hoof isn't just that hard nail material. It's a combination of things. And then so the furry part in the back is also indented but also moves up. And then there's a hairline that comes. I'll try to put a picture up if you catch my drift. And then so what my thought process here was, if I could get this, I'll bring it back, hang on. You can't see it from there. So this is the bottom of the foot. It's touching the ground. And then this will be up where the hairline would be. So I'm going to move it back a little bit so it's coming back a bit because the hoof moves back a bit. So I want this to come back probably about that much. And then we're going to want to attach them as such. And now that I'm going to put a light in them, I wanted something that can reflect the light at least in one direction. And so I thought about farrier's rasp. Now, I have a couple of broken ones that I think I'm going to mess around with. Now, in the farrier's rasp, there is the fine side and the coarse side. And I want the coarse side on the inside because I think it will shine up better, but it'll be a lot harder to shine up. And forging that will flatten it, which would make it not as cool, but still pretty cool. And so I was messing around with that. Now, inside the back of the foot, it indents a little bit and then comes back out, kind of like what you're seeing here. And so this is not the right size. I obviously was just messing around. And so I was thinking about mounting this like this. I'm going to taper the ends. They're not going to be flat and rigid. I'm going to taper them if I can. This will be a longer piece. This is just my test piece. I can see if I can hold this actually. I want to taper it down into the shoe. So I'm gonna just taper it. Either I will use the grinder or I'll forge it into a taper to come down, and so it kind of melds into the shoe right about here. And then I was also going to cut strips of a farrier's rasp. Actually, this is the one that I was testing cutting, and then I realized these are hardened steel rasps, so I have to heat them up before I can work them in any way. So even cutting them, this took a bit. So like I don't want to mess with that. And then the way I came with this indent was really weird, and so I couldn't figure that out for a while. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyway, so this is supposed to come to the back of the shoe on the heel, and then we want it to kind of indent there and then come back up to the rest of the shoe, because that's what a horse hoof looks like. So this is too small. And then this guy's going to sit on top of it as much as we can. And then the clips of each shoe, because all these shoes have clips, I'm going to straighten them, because you can see that they curve inwards, and they don't come that way. They come straight. I don't actually have one, a brand new shoe. Do I? I don't know. Hang on. I don't know. This is a good example. This is one of Courtney's school shoes, but you can see here that it comes fairly straight up and down, and then the farrier will mold it to the contour of the horse's hoof, because each hoof is a different size and it's a different shape, and they're all very similar, but some horses are wildly different. So anyway, so that's how that's going to go, and then I'm going to straighten the clips. And then I was thinking about cutting just some pretty strips into the farrier's rasp, just get some strips off of it, and make them about the same height as a rasp. So I'm hoping to be able to use the same one rasp per shoe light, and then I can just attach on an angle, a nice little angle, the clips. There is something to be said, though, for bringing the whole rasp all the way around into the clips, and then tapering it down that way. So we're gonna play around with that as well. So then there's a lot that we don't have to cut anything except for the rasp to size, and then work it into the shoe. It's gonna be it's going to be hard, I think, to start doing this. Um, our little bending jig that we used before for some of the hooks, we're going to have to use that. And our new hardy hole tool is how I put this indent in, and so we're gonna be using that as well. So a lot of the stuff that we've made for the forge area we're going to be using. So and then the solar lights that I got or should be coming this evening. I'm going to they're about 3 inches in diameter, 3.5, whatever, and so I might have to move the shoe around, the top shoe around to fit them. But my goal is to not have to work too much of the shoe and just see if I can get the light to fit in there. The light just has an LED that sticks out the bottom, and I'm not going to worry about trying to make that pretty or anything like that. We just want to get the proof of concept done for the most part. We're going to shine them up on the wire wheel, and then we're going to hand brush them until they're nice and shiny. I was testing this on the inside of this shoe here, and then I was flashing my phone light on it, and then I was trying to get some good shine, right? Because we do want it to be a little shiny. I did shine this guy up, this test piece, before I put it in the forge. Remember, as soon as I put it in the forge, it's all got to be re-shined up again. So what we're going to do here is we're going to clean the shoes. So I think I'm going to take them to the wire brush first. Then we'll take them to the forge, and then we're going to let them air cool. So this is just going to take a bunch of time. And we're going to do a couple of rasps. We're going to take a couple of rasps. We're not going to use this guy. He was my proof that I could get this dent in. But I might use this broken one, and I got a couple of other ones here that I've pulled out. Some of them are fatter and some of them are wider, that kind of stuff. It doesn't, again, I'm not worried about if all of the shoes are exact same height and stuff like that. That's not how things work in the horse hoof world. So basically, we're going to try to shape it to whatever the bottom shoe first, and then see if we can get the top shoe onto it in a nice fashion. We might have to bring it in a bit at the top, which is it's difficult because I don't know how to work metal that well just yet, but this is one of the things that's going to teach us. And the secondary benefit of doing this, I brought this over because I had this just showing me where I wanted things to be, but it's a little too high for the farrier's rasps to sit in there. But it gives me a good idea of how I want it to look. So if you see this kind of thing, that's basically what I'm going for. But we'll wrap the farrier's rasp around. Try to get the little indent in there. The indent doesn't have to be there. I don't think anybody will care if it's there or not. I wanted it there because I think it's a cool little detail that I think people with horses would just notice. I lost my train of thought. So that's basically what we're going to go for. So we're going to clean everything up. We're going to heat up the rasps and then let them cool down so I can actually cut them to whatever size I want them to be. We might work them and then cut them down, but we'll see. But either way, all of this has got to get heated up and scrubbed and then cleaned and that kind of stuff. So once we're ready to start actually working the metal, then we'll bring you guys back in, and we'll try our best to show all of the little pieces and stuff. Oh, my train of thought, I got it back. The secondary benefit of doing these for me is if I want to make an actual horse sculpture and I want to learn how to do their feet first, because I want to build it from the feet up. Maybe, I don't know, that at least maybe I can have a horse hoof that looks like a horse hoof. To at least start with whatever we want, so we can build the feet of the horse and then go from there, that kind of stuff. So anytime I get to build a part of a horse by itself, I was thinking about just doing just a horse head statuette, just to get an idea on how that works. We can do that too, and then we just have to like start putting all the pieces that we make together, and then we can have like a freestanding horse statue, which would be pretty dang cool, I think. Horses aren't the only thing I want to make, but it's kind of just a given. Hey, just make a horse statue. But yeah, so I'm going to clean all these up, and then when we come back, that's loud. Then when we come back, hopefully we'll be over at the anvil and forge and trying to make these work. I think the first thing we're going to do is straighten the clips, so I'll probably do that beforehand. And yeah. So I'll see you in a couple seconds while we slave away on this. All right, so we've got the shoes all on the floor here. Most of them are cleaned up. Some of them are going to be a little bit more in depth in their cleanup, and I figured I'd do it a little bit later once we have the concept down. So I'm only going to try to make one or two to begin of these little lights. I've shined up these shoes pretty well. Ooh, shiny. I might put a glossy coating on them too, just on the inside, just to give it that extra little oomph. I also don't want them to rust because they're going to be outside, so I'll probably put a coating on them regardless. But yeah, so we got this ready to go. And so what we need to do is we're heating up one of the rasps right now to try to do our bends. And so how I'm thinking about doing that is that we're going to use our Hardy tool, but I'm going to use the rounded edge of the Hardy tool. And I'm going to try to use that to make the indent. That's how I made this indent. I laid it flat on there, and then I just hammered around it to give the indent. But the hammer mark leaves hammer marks in the rasp. And if I can avoid doing that, I will. I don't have to avoid doing it. It's not a big deal. Well, my thought process was, what if I get the middle of the rasp, the area of the rasp that we really want to get the bend into, and we place it just over it, and then I push, because rasps will bend even under their own weight when they're hot enough, which I figured out while I was heating them up for the first time just to get their their hardness out. You can see that this guy turned a little wavy, right? And that was just me picking it up out of the forge and putting it down to cool it off. So I have a feeling that I can put it here. I put this clamp here to stop it from sliding back at me. So there's a stop there. It can still come off to either side, but like I can get out of the way pretty quick. But I'm going to place it up there, and then I'm going to grab two hammers, and I'm just going to try to slowly press it into the Hardy tool, and we'll see if that will give us the bend we're looking for. And then from there, we'll grab the bending jig and try to get our right shape to it. So that's hopefully what we're going to get out of this. So I'm not going to try to worry about exact middle. I'm just going to try to get the bend in and then see where we go from there. I don't think it was hot enough. It is bending. But I need it a lot hotter than that, I think. I don't know how well that's going to work. I might be trying to rush it though. I mean, it's coming along. I have to just think about this too and see if there's I wish it was the other way around so I could bend it into something instead of over something. There are things called swedge blocks. They're just big, like they're like anvils, but they're just big blocks and they have curves and cups and stuff cut into them. I don't have one of those. They're expensive and they're big and heavy, obviously, because they're like anvils. But yeah, I'm not sure here. My first thought process was to just put it over there and then just take two clamps and try to just evenly clamp them over it, but then I realized I can't clamp to the middle part of the anvil, only to the end. So that wouldn't have worked for me. I'm wondering if another hardy tool would help, but I can't think of that. I can't think of what the shape would be. But yeah, so keep letting it get as hot as possible and keep trying to get that bend in there. I'm making marks on it anyway. So let's just put it in. Measuring this is a lot harder than I expected. Let's just see how this plays out. So what we're going to do is we're going to see how that plays out. We're probably going to cut the angles into it, like cut it into size after it cools down, and then we'll cut the angles into it, and then see where we need to make adjustments from there. Okay, so we've cut our piece to roughly where we kind of want it to be. It's really sharp edges right now, but we're gonna work on it in the forge a little bit. So it's this is similar to what I wanted. It's not exactly what I wanted. And then I'm also realizing how am I going to polish the inside there? I do have wire wheels that can go in my drill, so I might have to do that. But yeah, I can't use the wire wheel that's on the grinder. on the bench grinder. But either way, yeah, so we just cut these off at a 45 because it's basically where we want it to be anyway. And it kind of just sits in the shoe there. This is it's not straight yet, but as you can see, there's a little wobble here. But the idea was that the 45, the point would go into the clip on the bottom shoe, and then it would start from the clip on the top shoe. The only problem is, so far, is that I have no idea how I'm going to have to shape the metal into the shoe a little bit better because we want it to come more to the edge of the shoe on the outside. So we're going to have to do a little bit more shaping, which means we're probably going to lose our indent. But that's okay. As long as there's like an idea that it was there, like as long as there's like a slight visual that it was there, I'll be happy, at least for the first one. And then, so we're going to try to shape this into what we need it to. And I'm not good at shaping metal yet, so this is a good practice. It probably will have to take until tomorrow to do more, even though tomorrow's our shopping day. Tomorrow evening I should have some time in the shop itself. But yeah, so we're going to take this. Now we have another problem though, is that I got the LED light, or the lights. See, woo, flashy. All right. Anyway, the problem is these are smaller than I thought they were going to be. They're exactly the size that they said they were, but they just fall through that top shoe, and that's a problem for me. I shouldn't drop it like that. I don't want to scratch up the light cover. It seems to already be a little bit scratchy, but I don't know how I'm going to have this sit in the top shoe now, though. But you can see, maybe you can't see from there, but there is a little bit of light that comes through. So this idea of having the rasp go around it and then only the light shining through the front of the shoe, I think is a cool idea. But I'm also wondering if all the way around the shoe there should be light. So I'm wondering if we make two different versions of this to start. But either way, I still have to figure out how I'm going to put this in the shoe and have it stay there. Yeah, I think I bought the cheapest ones I could find, so I'm not really worried about them breaking or anything. So we're going to try to figure out a way to do this. I did have an idea at one point in time, but I scrapped it because hang on, sorry. I scrapped it because I didn't like the idea as much as I liked this one. My second idea was to, instead of doing that, for me to take the rasp and just do one bend in it. So we'll start it from the tip of the shoe, and then we'll bend it up and around so it's got a nice reflective surface, and then we weld it to the top shoe up this way. So we weld it to the toe of this shoe here on the toe, and then it comes up, and then maybe it welds to the toe of this shoe, but then I couldn't figure out how to get the light through the rasp itself without like cutting major holes in the rasp, which I don't think I'm well equipped to do. And so my second thought was maybe weld it to the heels of the top shoe, but the rasps are too small for that. They're too skinny. There are bigger rasps. Let me see here. Show you the mammoth here. I don't know how many of them I have. We have these mammoth guys that could work, but they're still just a tiny bit. Like I could close the shoe a little bit to make this work. right? And then they kind of fit into the toe of the shoe nicely and all of that kind of stuff. And then we bring it up and then just weld it to the front of the shoe, and then that could close off. Like we could bring it up to the point where it's there. So I'm wondering if I shouldn't do that. Why do I keep doing things? I'm all like kerfuffled because I'm thinking too hard. So I'm wondering if we try, like I had already cut this second rasp. I cut the ends off of it because I think my second attempt to do this, I'm going to just bend it to the shape of the shoe and then try to put the indentation into it after the fact. So then we already have it shaped properly, and then we can heat that part of the shoe separately, and it would be a little bit more controlled. So that's what came out of figuring that out, is just get the part of the rasp cut down to what I want, then bend it into shape, and then figure out how we're going to go from there. I do have this guy, which is a little bit thicker of a rasp, that we can try the bend around method, which is nice. And I'm wondering if we try it with this different set of shoes. But again, we still have that problem of it not reaching the shoe itself to be able to get the weld onto it. So I'm wondering, there's also the option of maybe splitting the rasp. And so when it comes up, it's got things everywhere here. So when we do the bend to bring it up and around, I can split the rasp, widen it, and then attach it to each of the heels here. And then if we do that, we might be able to bring it into the shoe and be able to close off the gaps that we're having in here so this can sit into where the little rasp parts are. So I think we're going to try something like that with this guy here. And then with the other one, we're going to try just the wraparound. So we're going to try a couple of different options here. And so we're going to heat them up, and we're going to do them probably around the same time. Let's get it heated up. So we don't need to heat this end as much. So we're going to have it sticking out. Hello. So after a day or a night of chilling and thinking, and then a day of shopping for stuff, I've come up with a plan that pretty much scraps all of our other plans. So all of these things that we made yesterday, these little backings and stuff for the hoof lamps, I'm going to scrap them for now. At least as far as I know, I'm going to scrap them for now. I'm just making things a little bit more complicated than I wanted them to be. And basically, I just want to get something that looks like a hoof first, and then if we want to add stuff like this after, we should. So what I've done is I've played around in my brain, and I've cut some things, and I've measured some things, and so we've come up with this more or less. So this is our hoof, our shoes and stuff. And I've got the magnets in there just to hold it in place for now. They move around a lot, so it's not a big deal. And then what I've done is I've taken another rasp. I cooled off another rasp. That huge rasp I warmed up and cooled off too, just in case we want to use it for something. But I've cut these little strips, and I've shined them up and all that kind of stuff. I still have some grinding to do on the two of them. What we're going to do is the one of these, I've already grinded some angles into the end, so it makes it sit in there a little bit better. One of them is going to go on the toe, and then the other two, obviously, are going to go angled on the heel. And we're going to angle them and weld them into place that way, and that should give us a structurally sound place to work from. So then we have the structurally sound thing, and then from there we can figure out how to get the lamp in. I haven't figured that out necessarily, but we get the lamp in there, which would be nice, and then we're done we're done all of the necessary parts of it. Now, if we want to add some more elements to it, we can, but basically I'm running out of time for this video, and I would like to finish one of these. And I figured this little 3-point thing gives us more light exposure around it. I think that might look really, really cool. I also thought about, until my brain kicked in, putting it underneath so that it shines upwards. But then I was like, how does that solar panel do anything? So anyway, the biggest problem I'm going to have is figuring out how to get these angles correct. But I think we can figure that out after we weld on the toe piece, which we're going to do right away here. And what I want to do is figure out the best place for it, and then I want to get some magnets involved to hold it into place, kind of like this. Actually, that works just really well. That's a nasty one. I don't like that at all. Oof. pretty nasty. But it's together, and that's the goal right now. Found it. All right, let's see about getting this guy into its rightful place here. This one I'm going to have to use a magnet for sure. Because even if I do, well, maybe. I touched the wrong side of the shoe. Oh, it's a little smooth. It's smooth. That's going to blister. Mistakes happen. Owie. Get it off of there before it melts. Perfect. Easy. I feel like these welds should be taking more time to do, but I'm not an expert here. I mean, they're not pretty. Especially this one's terrible, but I'll try to clean it up. But I'll try to clean it up before I take pictures and stuff for the purpose of this. So the welding has turned some of it blue and purple, which I think is cool, but not what we're going for. So there we go. We have a welded shoe hoof. That's pretty good. I did it. There is a thing I made for inside the top of the shoe, well, on the top of the shoe, of the top shoe. I forgot to turn the camera on. I had all the mic and everything on, and I forgot to push the record button while I was making this little piece here. And I'll show it to you. I should probably turn those lights on, but yeah, it's pretty much what I'm going to go with just to get this done. So I cut a strip of rasp from one of the ones that we've had kind of cut up already. So I wish I would have had a longer one. I did warm one up and cool it off to potentially do this. But what I want to do here is just get this in there kind of snugly, and then this sits in there and makes it so it holds it, which is really, really nice. I think if I did another one in the future, I'd probably make this thinner material so it sits further in the shoe. I'll show you what it looks like. So it kind of just sits on the inside of the fuller there. It's just going to sit there, and it's just going to hold the light in there. I'm going to put the welds on the bottom, and I'm not going to fully weld it. I think I'm just going to tack it in there, just in case I want to change it out in the future. But for now, this is what we want it to look like. I got to polish it up still, And then I think I also want to maybe cut some of the stuff out around the edges. I'm afraid I'm going to break it, but I have 3 other ones just in case. So if we figure out the best place for this, then I'm wondering if I kind of cut an angle here, just so it kind of flows into the light itself a little bit better. That might work. And you can see here I did a fairly okay job rounding it to the shape, but it's more it's more of an oval than anything. I'm still working on using a horn to make circles instead of ovals. But this works, I think. Yeah, in the future I'd make a thinner piece, like a thinner strip altogether, and I'd make it longer so it's all the way around, and then I just make a circle that just kind of sits in the fuller of whatever shoe that we're working with. The problem is that like some of these shoes are like they're not circular, they're more oblong-y and different, so that would have to take some finesse that I haven't practiced enough yet. So this will all be when I make the other 3, or if I make the other 3, I might only make 2, but we'll see. But yeah, I think, you know what, I think I'm going to leave it. I don't think I'm going to cut it. I think I'm just going to polish it up real quick, and then we're going to find the place for it that we want it to be, and then tack weld it, and I think that might be it. So give me a second, and let me polish this up really quick. So I know I covered the pumpkins in the last video. Obviously we made this guy, but I made the other 2 kind of this week too, so I've just put it up on the table. I don't think we've really done much of anything else this week. Horseshoe took my whole weekend away, right? So yeah, it just feels kind of like a lackluster week for actual progress on stuff. I have a couple more welding project ideas that have kind of popped into my head that we'll probably talk about next video if I can find a way to do some of them. But like I was mentioning earlier, if I didn't cut it out, the horseshoe situation is getting out of hand. I have so many horseshoes, and I want to come up with some easy to make projects to get rid of them. And so ones that don't necessarily need the cleaned up shoes or any of that kind of stuff that's just going to be outdoor, so it's going to probably rust anyway, that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking about stuff like that. But either way, I don't know how warm this is still. It's good. This side's a little warm still, but either way, check it. We have our horseshoe light. Would you look at that? Our horseshoe garden light or horseshoe pathway light. I don't know what to call it. I was wondering if maybe eventually we could add a stand to it so it's higher up so the light shines down through the horseshoe, but I don't know what that would look like. I like the idea of it just illuminating the shoe itself, but who knows? I mean, this might not be something that goes any further than this, but I like it, and I'm going to put it somewhere. Once I clean it up, I'm going to grind up the welds a little bit because I'm still not great. Grind up the welds a little bit, take the wire brush to a bunch of it, try to clean it up, And then I'm going to put a glossy coating on it, because right now I only have, I have lacquer, which is glossy, but I only have, for this clear coat, I have 3 types of clear coat here. 4. This one's the rust one, so I'd probably use this one for outdoor stuff. But it's matte or satin, so it doesn't give a gloss. This is matte clear, which is, again, doesn't give a gloss. Satin, again, doesn't give a gloss. And then lacquer, it does give a gloss. I don't have a lot left of it. High luster is what this is called, so it does have a glossy look to it. So these guys, unfortunately, I don't like the look of glossy stuff. But when we're putting a light together, we'd probably want the inside surfaces to be high gloss, so it has a good reflection to it. So yeah, there's all that. I have all this stuff that I'd like to use, but I don't have the appropriate stuff sometimes. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for hanging out this week and enjoying. I hope you enjoyed. I don't know. I just assumed you enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm just going to turn out the lights and see what it looks like in the dark. And that's how the video is going to end. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Hopefully we can get a lot more done.